Nation, I hope you're all having a wonderful day. If you're new to this channel, I'm a plant hobbyist from Melbourne. I like to take care and propagate plants and use those plants to style my home. If you like this kind of content, you know what to do. Please hit the likes button, subscribe to the channel and pop a comment in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you with a comment. Today I'm going to be styling this bookshelf here, which I purchased from a company in Australia called Adairs. I am not sponsored by Adairs. I fully paid for this bookshelf. It's a wooden bookshelf. I love it because of the wooden ingrain in the shelf. I'm going to use a lot of plants that can tolerate low light situation because this bookshelf actually sits in the area that doesn't receive much sunlight at all. It receives probably about a couple hours of morning light and a little bit of light from a northern door as well. So I can tell it's a low light area because if I pop my hand up and if I did turn off the lights are on at the moment, I can't see the fine lines in my hand. I can only see the deeper and darker lines in my hand. So if I turn off the light now, you can see it's actually quite low light. And if I put my hand up, I know you guys can see, but I can't actually see the fine lines. It's all really more the deeper, darker lines that I can see. So if I can turn on the light again, so that's how I can tell if it's a low light area. So I'm going to use plants that can survive in low light situation to style this bookshelf. Okay, let's start. What do you guys think? I hope you like the style. If you have any styling tips of your own, I'd love to hear about in the comment section down below. So all the plants I've chosen are all low light tolerant plants. Even though they're low light tolerant plants, it doesn't mean that the plant wouldn't prefer to be in areas that have more bright indirect sunlight. The plants are in low light situations. They don't tend to grow as quickly, or the leaves don't tend to be as large either. And if I ever found a plant that wasn't doing much, or was becoming dormant, it wasn't growing any leaves, then I would move that plant to an area that has more bright indirect sunlight. I actually tend to rotate my plants, so I will rotate my plants generally once a month just to make sure the plant has enough sunlight to actually survive and thrive as well. It's also important when putting plants in a low light situation to be very careful with watering because they can be easily overwatered. Plants that are in a low light area don't need as much water compared to if they were sitting in a bright indirect sunlight. Also, the plants I've chosen, they don't have much variegation in it because a plant that has a lot of variegation, so lots of yellows and whites through the leaves, they tend to not do as well because the leaves aren't as green, so it can't photosynthesize as well. Also, the other part is there's a chance of losing that variegation on the leaves. So let's start. So the first plant I would recommend in a low light situation is this one. It's a Sansevieria. So Sansevieria are low maintenance plants. This is a Sansevieria cylindrical and the actual stem is a cylindrical in shape and it's smooth. It's absolutely gorgeous. This one here has a lot of pups in it. So hopefully in the future I can propagate it, or the other option, I can leave the pups in the plant so the pot looks more full. This one here, because it sits in a low light area, I tend to only water it once a month, but with any sort of plant, before I water the plant, I check the soil to see if it's dry or moist. I also check if the plant needs watering by the actual leaves as well. So I'm going to pop this one back, and the next one I would recommend in a low light area is this very Beautiful plant. So this plant here, you can see a lot of pink in the leaves, and it actually has a flower. So this is the flower of an Aglaema. So this plant is called an Aglaema Spitfire. It has a lot of pink through it. The only thing about pinks in the Aglaema, or a lot of whites in the Aglaema, if it's sitting in a low light situation, it may start to lose the coloring of the leaves, so it may turn more green like this one. But Aglaemas are fantastic for a low light area. The next plant I would recommend, I'll just grab it. So the next plant I would recommend is this gorgeous Syngonium. This is a pink Syngonium, or otherwise known as a neon Syngonium. Pink Syngoniums actually prefer to be in areas that are low light or moderate light. If you want to keep the actual pink in the leaves, because if it sits in an area that has a lot of bright indirect sunlight, it will produce more chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is the green in the leaves, and the pink areas will start to become more green. Kind of like this one, it's kind of losing its pink and becoming more green. Other Syngoniums, things like completely green Syngoniums, are ones that have a lot more green through it. They actually thrive in low light situations. I've had some in areas where it's still growing like a weed in low light areas. The next plant I would recommend in a low light area, I'll pop this one back. The next one I would recommend is this one here, which is a gorgeous plant. This is a type of Peperomia. It's a Peperomia verda. I chose this plant in this area because it has a lot of green in it, so it can survive in this area for a very long time. And Peperomias are also a low maintenance plants. They don't often need to be watered, especially this type here. The next plant I would recommend is this one here, which is a little cutie. It's a spider plant. This type is called a Bonnie spider plant, and I love spider plants because they're relatively easy to find and quite cheap to buy. And this spider plant has been sitting in an area that has a lot of low light for about 3 months, and I haven't actually lost a lot of the white through it. It's still quite white streaks through it, so it's a really good plant to be in a low light situation. And it's very cute. Looks like pear. Very cute. The next plant I'll just grab it. The next plant I would recommend is a peace lily. Low light areas, you can't go by with a peace lily. Peace lilies are fantastic in low light situation. This one here is called a white lightning because it has a white streak in the middle of the leaf, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So peace lilies are fantastic, but if you're going to get a peace lily in a low light area, get the ones that have more green through it, rather than the very variegated peace lilies. The next plant I would recommend is this one here, which is a Skinopsis pictus. This is an exotica type. This one here doesn't grow as quickly in a low light area, but it's still growing, so it's still producing some leaves. The other plant I would recommend if you like a vining kind of plant is a devil's ivy, or otherwise known as a pothos, especially the golden pothos. They grow like weeds, and they do so well in a low light situation. Also, you can use things like a philodendron, kind of like a heart leaf philodendron. They're also a lovely vining plant in a low light area. When it comes to low light plants, you can't get by without talking about a ZZ plant. Honestly, this plant can survive almost anything. It can survive almost in darkness, and it's so low maintenance. The only way really to kill a ZZ plant is by overwatering it. So watering it once a month and that's it. Leave it alone and it will love it. This gorgeous plant here is called a Maranta. It's a red Maranta, and they can live in low light situations because of the leaves. So the front has red veins in it, but the underside has a burgundy red color. And what happens is that when the sunlight hits the leaves, it reflects the light back up to the leaves so the plant can reabsorb the sunlight. So it's going to have a double take at the sunlight, so it's going to absorb more of the sunlight, so it can survive in a low light area. The next plants I have are ferns. Ferns can survive in low light areas because in the natural area in the rainforest, they only receive dappled lighting, so they can do quite well in a low light situation. The only thing is to make sure that it does receive some humidity and also that the soil doesn't completely dry out, because ferns like their soil to be moist. So I have a few different types here. The front one here with the yellow leaves in it is called a tiger fern. The back one is called a Boston fern, and I have a tiny little one here. I'll just carefully get it out. This one here is called a rabbit's foot, and the actual root is kind of hairy and it's pretty impressive. It's got a little leaf coming out of it. Very cute. And then the other plant I have in here is a sneaky little green Maranta. This Maranta has been growing with the ferns for a long time. I got it about 6 months ago and it used to be only this high, and look at it now. It's grown so much in that 6 months. So I'll pop this down and then I'll recommend another plant. So this plant here is called a dumb cane, or otherwise known as a Depenbachia. So dumb canes, there are ones that are a lot more green. This has a lot of white through it. So this one here, yes, it can tolerate a low light situation, but I most likely need to move it more often compared to if I got a dumb cane that had a lot more green in it. So if I start to see that the new leaves are producing a lot more green compared to white, then I'll definitely move this plant. But dumb canes are fantastic in a low light situation. Once again, this plant does need a little bit more humidity. That's why it's very near to the ferns, because the ferns are actually sitting on a tray of pebble and water. The only thing about a dumb cane, it's a highly toxic plant. So if you do have pets and young children that are curious, I wouldn't recommend a dumb cane. I would recommend the other plants that I've shown. So that's all I have for you guys today, and that's my selections for plants for a low light situation to actually style this bookshelf. I also like to put things like little knickknacks, like these pears and apples, just to give it a little bit different texture as well. If you do like this kind of styling and you like this video, please hit the likes button. Consider subscribing and pop a comment down in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you. You all have a wonderful day and I'll see you next time in the next video. Bye.